Hi, this is Angela, and welcome to the Love Oracle, weekly Love Oracle. So, today, as I'm doing this live, the plumbing is being cleared in the house. So, hopefully, something will be cleared besides the plumbing in the house as well. I'm new to this live stream situation, so bear with me if you're joining and I'm not able to catch your chat. Today, I'm looking at a question from Solo Tantra Yoga about healing and relationships. And it's how can healing help relationships with a woman who is trying to balance running a business? And I thought it was a great question because a lot of people are experiencing the similar problems of not being able to balance having a relationship, whether that's a parent-child relationship, and a business or a job. So even though this is going to focus a little bit more on business today, it's very relevant for most people who have a family or a romantic partnership. How do you balance doing it all? In particular, Solo Tantra Yoga was talking about herself and many women. She sees we don't think we can have both nowadays. So we don't think as women you can have a business and a relationship. So I'm going to get to the thinking because that's a huge piece about healing is addressing how we think about love relationships or how we think about ourselves, our lives, and our world. So today I'm going to give 3 points because that's about all my brain can handle. So if you've got questions about anything I share, please put it in the chat. And I do get to the chat, but because of my brain function being in process of recovering from surgery, so I'm still learning how my brain can function and keep up with the internet. I am still recovering that capacity and learning how it's going to operate now because it's probably different. So let's look at what healing does in terms of helping relationships. So the first thing that healing does is it helps you step out of looking or measuring yourself by the outer world. Healing is specifically looking at getting you to measure from the inner world, the inner self, which you can call many things. Let's just put it real simple, like binary code. Healing, by its nature, will sidestep measuring you by the outer world success. And this is really important when it comes to modern relationships because modern relationships are becoming more and more pressured to measure by, if you run a business, how much money do you make? How many clients do you have? Is your schedule full? If you're an entrepreneur, are you making it happen? Or you're just running from every gig to the next gig and making things up as you go and you're feeling like you're not a success? So healing by its nature will stop you from measuring by outer world success. However, if you're running a business, you have to pay the bills to keep the business sustainable. And our culture is going through so much change. We're going from a 9-to-5 economy to so-called a gig economy where people work through gigs. You might not have security of retirement income. You might not have the money for a holiday. And you might not have your holidays paid for because you're running on an hourly rate from your gigs or your contracts. You don't know where the next contract's coming from. That's a huge shift. And in some people's lives, they don't even have a job that's secured because that industry's going out of business, or their own company might be considering laying them off. Their hours might change. So we do need to pay the bills. And so when you see a lot of people who talk about listening to your heart and helping healing help you to connect to your heart to grow your relationships, that part of your brain is still going to say, but how do I pay the bills? So the first thing to realize is that if those fears around having a successful business come in or not being able to make it happen, that's what you've got to look at. I'm going to address that in the third point. My first point is healing by its nature will help you work on your inner sense of success. It's going to step you out of the treadmill, the wheel that the rat gets trapped in of trying to keep up with the Joneses or measure yourself by worldly success or how many likes you have on Instagram or Facebook. Healing by its nature will help you to step out of that. And that's why it's so important in these times. So I want to bring back this fear or concern about having to pay the bills. If you've set up a business, you've set that up because there's something about the way that the time structure or the nature of having a 9-to-5 job or not being able to pick up your kids from school, you've set up a business or you've you contracted yourself out in a different way so you could have better life balance or to have freedom or to teach or share something really important in that business or provide a service that's particularly what you're born to do. So a business usually is set up by someone who's mad enough to say, I'm not going to get a job, I need to do this. So there's something by your nature or your spirit, perhaps, that's needing to have that business. And in a business, what you would do if something didn't work in your beliefs or your attitudes around the business, you'd have to change it because you wouldn't make money. So I challenge you that if you are a business owner, by your nature or even from your spirit, there's a reason that you've set up the business to step out of what perhaps society would prefer you to be, or to step out of the box of what a woman should be, or to step out of the box of how you should measure and set up your time. So look at what you would do for your business if you had a problem, because that would teach you about something that you've come to do that perhaps you can also use to better your relationships. If you had a block in your business or the plumbing got blocked in your business, what do you do? But if we have emotional blocks in our relationship, the tendency is to shut down and say, I can't do this. So there's some beliefs there around your ability to be flexible, to adapt, or to perhaps look at some underlying things in the relationship that may not be working emotionally for you or physically for you, or perhaps it's your perception about your ability to handle the relationship. So I'm going to address that in the third point. Anytime we have any beliefs about not being able to have something in our lives, whether it's both a functioning business and a functioning relationship or a happy business and a happy relationship, there's always something to look at internally, which you've probably heard me before say, but I'm going to get that into the third point. So the second point that I'm going to bring up is about time and work-life balance, which has become a catchphrase in our world. We all want these balanced lives, and we all aspire to have time for self so we can have time for others. I would invite you to go deeper on what time actually is. Time as we know it today really has only been around for just under 200 years. Like actual GMT time was only established about 1836 when we had, forgive me for the time, and I'm not really good with specific times and dates, but around 1836, a lot of changes happened in our identities as nations and through time zones. In the US, time zones were established so we could have trains. So you could catch a train on the East Coast and get to Central Coast and have schedules. So keep that in mind, that relationships are not based on a clock that measures time. If you have children, you will understand this. I don't, but I act like a child and I remember what it was like to be a child and have friends who have children. But if you've got kids, you probably have an experience where you've got to run out that door that minute to get in the car or catch the bus to get to a place, and that your kids have hidden the keys. And you're thinking, oh my God, you little bleep, I just need to get out of the house. But the child unconsciously, or perhaps somewhat from the spirit level, has worked out that for some reason you're not meant to go. And your personality is thinking, I need my keys to get out of the house. And you just want to throttle the kid, but you know this not the right thing to, you're not going to do that. Well, hopefully you're not. But we're so wrapped up on getting into this schedule of time and making sure we are on time and we catch the bus or we get on the car, that we actually step out of what our heart and relationships may require. And then for our relationships, we end up, because we're so measuring our time by linear time, by modern time, we end up scheduling when we're going to make love with our partner. We end up saying, I'm too tired, because you've been running all day and you have no energy to make love with your partner. Or you might have no time or energy to do anything with your family by the time it comes to 7 o'clock and you've cooked the dinner and you've getting around to washing the dishes. So our relationships are very much constricted by time. And if you run a business, that's very much what gets eaten up, because you don't perhaps have time that you might limit your business or you're scheduling your business. So the trap with the belief that we can't have a functioning business or a happy business and a happy relationship is often because we're measuring our lives by time that's linear. And the heart runs in very different ways. Like children go beyond time and we have to discipline them into time as they get older. But when they're babies, we don't say, okay, it's 7 o'clock, you must wake up now. They run on a completely different sense of time, which gives us a clue about how our spirit and our hearts want to run on with time. So if you have work-life balance issues or problem measuring time to make your business work and have a relationship, there's something there that's challenging you to look at how you approach time, whether it's time for your heart or time scheduling. So you have the time that you need if you have a spiritual practice, or perhaps if you've got a relationship, you need to say to your partner, honey, I've got to have this time to do my thing. For me, it's my spiritual practice. So if I'm not clear about that, I start to be a real BIT and other things to my partner. But my anger is at myself for not making that time for 20 minutes in the day or 10 minutes or just communicating. So a lot of the time you are being challenged by your spirit to vocalize and to structure the time that you need for your heart, but we prioritize everything else in our society. And I challenge you that often relationships are just really about setting up the time for you or your spirit that you need, so the relationship then starts to flow. And I've seen this consistently with my relationship. When I've vocalized the time I need for my meditation, the relationship flows. So that's a key. What are you doing with your time to allow relationships to flow, or the business to flow, or your energy to flow? So the final point is what Solo Tantra Yoga has brought up is that in her question for herself and many women, I see we don't think we can have both nowadays, a business and a relationship. So I'm going to go back to the thinking we can't have both, because this is often what happens in not just in terms of our relationships, but in many things in our life. We can't have both. We can't have a happy partner and happy children. So the parents end up, or one of the parents gives all of their energy to the child, and the spousal relationship goes off. Or you can't have a good body, a healthy body, and a healthy family. So you sacrifice the time for your maybe exercise to have a happy family and to cook. All right? So this classic, it happens everywhere. It's not just in families, it's in our education systems. You can't have both. You can't have a business and a job. You can't have this, you can't have that. One of the things that's causing this is too much information, too much opportunities these days. It's called I've forgotten what it is, but it's when you can't make a choice. I can't even find the language for it. So I struggle with a lot of choice fatigue, where you go to the shops and there's too much choice. When there is any belief about not being able to have both, the key is to look inside. Where inside you have you been feeling that you can't make decisions or choices in your life, or you don't have the ability to make things more structured in your life, such as the time, scheduling time for yourself? That's a classic sabotaging belief most of us have. I can't do this because of fear of you won't be able to handle it if you did do this. I can't do this business because somewhere there's a belief, and it can be many different beliefs. It'll be unique to you, but there's a belief that you actually won't be able to make the business work in some manner. It can be very, very clear though and specific on that, because all of us have some beliefs that are hidden to us, or we don't like to look at them. So instead we go, oh, I can't make the relationship work. You know, we avoid looking at what is that fear about having the business be successful. Maybe you won't be able to make everybody happy. And therefore you start thinking, I can't be both. I can't have a happy business and a happy relationship. Often it's because we think we have to be perfect. So the best sabotaging belief is that if I make a mistake, people won't like me. Or if I'm not perfect, people will see that, right? It's a classic thing. If you're not a perfect partner in your relationship, it's all going to go ass up or end up, whatever end up. And then the famous one for me is, I'm not capable enough to make the business work. I'm not capable enough to recover from a mistake. And then how can I make this business work? So often we have these beliefs that we can't have both. There's something underneath. So the third point is always go inside. If you have that belief you can't do both, there's something begging you to have a look inside. Where's some attitude or belief? I can't be good enough. I can't make this work. Or I can't be creative enough to find out different structure to make this work. So be aware that in the first point, often society has structures that we're trying to measure ourselves by, and they're not the right structure for you. And healing will help you to connect to your inner self and stop measuring by outer world success. And in other videos, I go deeper into the 4 aspects of healing. It looks at your spiritual self, your emotional self, your mental self, and your physical self. And often your feelings are connected to your emotions and your spirit. But your feelings can often take you down a pathway that are not where you want to go. So you have to talk to your feelings, find out what's not feeling aligned. And physical healing can often clear out just old crap that's in your body. Like if you go to a dance class, you can let go of a lot of things during the week, and suddenly you come back to your relationship and you'll say something to your partner that just dissolves a whole bunch of crap that's been building up in the relationship or in your head about the relationship and having to be perfect in that relationship. So healing can work very quickly by working on clearing out that physical level, and it can also help you by looking at the emotions where something doesn't feel right. So the second point I said is to be aware of time. How are you making your relationships fit into some mold of time that may not be actually in alignment with what your heart and spirit's trying to get you to work towards? And the third point is to look at beliefs that are sabotaging you about making the business work? Is there some belief there around you not being capable enough to make the business work, or about being perfect and not being able to recover from a mistake, about how you should be? And to see how that can be also affecting everything in your relationship. So if you've got any other questions about relationships, put them in the chat, anything I've talked about in the video. And I do get to the questions. I'm still learning how to use the whole YouTube platform and the internet. Who isn't, right? Who isn't learning how to use the internet any moment? Thank you for your questions, and thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing more about relationship snafus, I call them, and also any other questions you might have about healing. If you want me to talk more about healing, I also have another channel called The New Energy Body. So I'll be linking that up to the page when I get that sorted. Perfection is certainly not an aspect that I've mastered, and I don't think I will. So I will notify you when that new channel is up and connected to Love and Relationship Coach, and aspire for the love that you wish to manifest in your relationships, because that's how our relationships grow into those aspirations. Thank you.